Hi everyone, I'm Sanjana and I have Emilia with me today, and we're going to talk about content marketing. So by content marketing, I mean we're not going to talk about how to write content or how to distribute content, but we're going to go one step further and talk things like content operations, programmatic SEO, and so on. So Emilia, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. So to introduce Emilia, she's currently the head of marketing at UserPilot, and she has a strong background in content and product marketing. So stay tuned and listen to the full interview as we're going to go deep on content marketing as a topic. All right. So before we start, Emilia, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, where did you start your career and where are you now? Like, how has the journey been so far for you?
Right. So the journey has been quite convoluted, actually. I didn't start off with marketing, and I was actually running a translation agency. And then over time, I was getting a lot more requests to translate content into mainly English, but also other languages. And that's when I got, into content marketing. I became interested in it. And first I started working on SEO content for the agency clients. And then I got more and more hooked on it in general, and especially SaaS companies were particularly interesting to me. So I decided to kind of jump ship and join a SaaS startup first, and then from there I moved into UserPilot as the first marketer really on the team. And well, it progressed from there very quickly. The work was very intense. We were growing the team, we were growing the company quite rapidly. So that's essentially where I am now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your experience, Emilia. It's inspiring, of course. And yeah, now let's get into the topic. First of all, I would like to get started by asking, what is content operations, and how do you define it?
Right. So, everybody knows RevOps, everybody knows, well, marketing ops. There is an increasing trend in product ops now. So the ops word stands for, all the activities that surround a particular department and that facilitate the department to work smoothly and to be scalable. So I see content ops as an extension of that, as an extension of marketing ops that focuses on streamlining the processes within the content team, making sure it is independent from individuals and that it's scalable, right? So basically the knowledge of content processes in your company should not, sit within the head of one person, right? Within your content manager or head of content. And this is still something that happens a lot. The teams struggle to grow and they struggle to scale their content operations because they don't have them well documented. There aren't, fixed processes, checklists, there aren't tools implemented with automations to actually allow scaling content production without relying on the writer's individual skills or knowledge, and the same with the head of content.
And can you give us an example of how do you do that? Like, do you have any checklist that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. So well, over the years, we started seriously working on our content operations at the beginning of 2021. And this was the only goal that we had for 2021. And there are plenty of checklists and plenty of different aspects that had to be documented and essentially turned into SOPs, so standard operating procedures for the different roles. But first, we needed to define the organizational structure of the content team. So we decided to remove the responsibility for, the content outlines from the writers to the editors. So this was the most important role on the content team. So the editors are responsible for creating the briefs, creating the outlines, essentially giving the writers instructions for everything that needs to go into a single piece of content. Then there is the head of content that actually organizes the work for the content editors. And then at the lower end, there are the writers who produce the content and the proofreaders who do the final checks and publish the content. So after, sealing this organizational structure, we were able to create SOPs and processes for each role. So there is a different SOP for what the head of content does, what the content editors do, what the writers do, and what the proofreaders do. And within each role, there are separate checklists for, like SEO steps, for also hiring people for these roles, right? There are checklists and processes for progression within that role, right? So from like entry level to expert level, there are different, milestones that a person in this role needs to accomplish. So yeah, there is a lot of different SOPs that kind of dovetail together to create, the whole content ops structure.
Got it. Yeah, this is clear now. And now, speaking of, programmatic SEO, we keep hearing this term, everywhere now. And I would like to ask you, what is programmatic SEO? Like, can you give us an example? And how is it different from traditional SEO?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a very sexy term these days.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of confusion around what it means, because programmatic SEO does not necessarily need to mean that its content is AI generated content. And I feel like a lot of people confuse the term. But essentially programmatic SEO is SEO content produced using programmatic methods. So achieving more scalability through the means of scripts or templates that allow you to generate content at scale. So that may or may not involve AI tools. For us, actually, programmatic SEO, most of the tasks are achieved with spreadsheets, and that basically consist of multiple formulas that generate HTML code, right, from little chunks from a database. So, you could do it differently. You could employ JavaScript and basically build out a code that would generate individual blog posts, or basically the HTML code for these individual blog posts from the database as well. And you could do it with a lot of different methods, a lot of different programmatic languages. But essentially, the core thing is the output, right? That you're able to generate a lot of content from a database.
And what is your opinion on using AI tools to generate content? Is it effective?
Again, the standard answer to any marketing questions, it depends. So for some simpler topics where there is already a lot of content online on them, programmatic or AI-based tools work really well, because AI content is based on probability, right? So essentially, it strings tokens together in sentences that are most probable to occur next to each other based on a large corpus of data. And with more niche topics where there isn't enough data in the corpus, the AI tools struggle to actually produce content that makes sense. And so even if the language is grammatically correct and it kind of makes sense to read, the factual value of the content is pretty low. So I would say e-commerce businesses that need to generate a lot of generic product descriptions can do really well with AI based tools, because you give them a few pieces of information keywords around the product, so say red running shoes for women, Nike, right, fashionable, and then they can produce a neat description from these keywords at scale. So it actually makes a lot of sense. When it comes to sophisticated blog posts, including elements of thought leadership, right? Or assessment
Yeah.
that is pre-subjective. I find we tested like pretty much all the AI content tools that we could find in April this year. So some of them produced content that I said like made sense dramatically and sounded like good English, but it just tripled itself up when it comes to facts. So say we wanted to produce a blog post on Pendo pricing, right? Pendo is one of our competitors. But digital adoption tools are still very niche, right? So there isn't an entire lot of content on that. And it would just get the information about pricing plans wrong, right? So that wasn't very helpful, essentially, because someone would still need to go in and fix the data and do the research, which is the most difficult part, because writing things up is not that difficult, but like finding the relevant information where it's scarce, this is what takes up most of the time of our editors, of our writers.
Right. And have you tried using these tools to write, web content?
Web content, you mean like landing page?
Yeah, web pages,
content,
landing
sales
pages.
copy.
Yeah.
No, we haven't yet, to be perfectly honest. Again, okay, maybe we have tested a few to actually see if that will make sense, like social media copy, but I'm not convinced, these are like pretty much low effort. We don't have that many landing pages to have to do that. And again, we are in a niche B2B SaaS industry, right? So I feel there isn't just enough information to produce content that again would be accurate.
Got it. I'm just, exploring few AI tools, and I was just wondering if I can use it to write, web content. That's where I need the most help. All right.
What was your experience so far? I am curious.
I'm exploring copy.ai. I tried writing, the web headers, but it wasn't that effective. Maybe like I could pick up some words here and there from what it generated, but that wouldn't do the job that I would do it, in a way that's satisfying to me. So it was to write web copies. I don't think that's a good platform to have. Maybe like as you said, product descriptions is a good place where these tools can be effective.
Gotcha.
All right. So coming back to programmatic SEO, any like best practices of programmatic SEO that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, so we're actually testing some programmatic SEO tactics now. And what I noticed from our, fairly limited experience so far, but we're planning to implement programmatic SEO shortly, and we're working on some scripts that would generate content and specific keyword combinations. I think programmatic SEO can be super effective for SaaS companies to generate bottom of the funnel content, where the keyword combinations, the content, for these keyword combinations is very formulaic, right? So for instance, product reviews, right? Like comparison pages where you're comparing one tool to another tool. And the posts follow a certain fixed logic, right? You first have the tool description, then you are talking about the key free features, right, for the free key use cases of this product. And then you're comparing the prices, then you may be like giving positive and negative reviews from a review site, and then you're like evaluating, giving your final conclusion. You can easily create a script or a spreadsheet that would generate like these posts following exactly this formula from a database. We're like actually using lookup formulas to look up a database where we store information about our competitors, essentially. So alternative solutions to our product. Pretty much every SaaS company is keeping tabs on the market, right? This is an essential part, both for the product team and, the marketing and sales team. to have a good understanding on your unique value proposition and how you compare to different alternative solutions on the market. So if you have that information and it lives somewhere in a spreadsheet, right? So you have certain criteria, how you compare yourself to other alternative solutions, and then you're listing the solutions in all the rows, and you can then create thousands of unique combinations of these tools. If you have like a couple dozen of alternative solutions on the market. So if you were doing it all by hand, it would take a lot more time rather than just computing the different possible variables, right, from the spreadsheet, and then spitting out the data in a specific order, right, already formatted for your blog, like in HTML code. So I would suggest sitting down and first thinking about your strategy. So like what you're going to use programmatic SEO for, what is realistically doable, right? Then also looking at the resources that you have available. Will you be able to, you know, like create scripts programmatically? You have actually, you know, engineering resources to do that? Or do you need to rely on no code tools, like for instance, spreadsheets? Or like you don't have time for that because it's also pretty time consuming. Then maybe you can like look for existing templates, right? Or existing no code tools that you will be able to use to, you know, adapt for your use case. And yeah, so these two things are, I would say, the first steps to take in programmatic SEO. And then look at how many of these keyword combinations that follow a formulaic path you actually have. Does it make sense to invest in programmatic SEO in your case? Because it will be a big time investment initially. Or maybe you actually don't have that many, you know, of these combinations that you can cover, and it's better to just hire a bunch of writers to do it by hand. So, you know, again, it all depends, and it's worth to invest some time in thinking about your strategy, thinking about your resources, thinking about the potential ROI, right, on this time investment before you like jump into it head first because everyone else is doing it.
Got it. And who really handles programmatic SEO in the company? Is it the content team or the digital marketing team?
Yeah, so for us, it's the content team because we are using it to produce blog content. This is our main acquisition channel, so we're focusing on it and in increasing efficiencies in like our content creation and publication process. So for us, it's like the head of content and content editors that are working on it. In other teams, it may be someone else, depending on what, you know, programmatic content you need to produce.
Got it. Got it. And how does your content tech stack look like? Like, what are some of the tools that your team uses on an everyday basis?
Yeah, sure. So we use quite a lot of different tools for different like parts of the process. So first, for, you know, like the general organization phase, we use Notion for all the SOPs, all the checklists. So this is like the backbone of the content operations. It's like our outside brain, I would say. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning. Our Notion documentation essentially replaces tacit knowledge that will like sit within one person. So all our processes are documented there. Then the next step is actually, you know, organizing the team's work, so the workflow. And this is done through Asana. We have an Asana board for content that consists of epics, milestone tasks, and then subtasks within these milestone tasks that are essentially individual content pieces. And then we're using the Kanban board and include all the writers that essentially move the content piece along the pipeline, the production pipeline. So this is, you know, very transparent. If you go onto our Asana board, you can see exactly what is being worked on, who owns which project, right? You can see which editor is working on which blog post, and then you can see the handover from the editor to the writer, then back to the editor when they check the writer's final draft, and then on to the proofreader, who then does the final checks, both in terms of language and SEO, and handles the publication. And then after Asana, we use a planning tool, I would call it content intelligence tool. We use Surfer SEO for this, and essentially it helps us create the content briefs, and it helps us optimize the content for SEO based on, you know, the top ranking results for the specific keyword that we want to rank the individual piece of content for. So we write the initial brief, the first draft of the content piece as well in Surfer SEO. It's giving us a real-time content score, which is great because we can aim for like a content score of 80 out of 100. And we can also compare basically how our content piece performs in terms of content score compared to our other top ranking content pieces for this keyword. So essentially we're aiming to outrank the other competitors that, you know, maybe they aren't our direct competitors, but basically other sites that have ranked for this keyword. And then after we're happy with the final draft in Surfer and it's optimized for SEO, we move it to StoryChief, which is like an interface between, you know, the content writers and our blog and the editors and proofreaders. So it's a platform that allows essentially the editors to comment on the writer's final draft and make small amendments. It's also where you can upload all your images. It's also where, you know, you can add internal and external links and set the basically attributes. So no follow and do follow attributes on the links, as well as alt text on the images very easily. So that helps us basically format the blog post into its final version without having to tinker with the text editor in WordPress. And yeah, it also allows us to push the content into multiple destinations. So it's also a distribution platform. And so essentially when we're happy with the final draft, we can then push it to our blog, to our Medium with a canonical tag already inserted into it, and to all our social media platforms with one click. So that helps to streamline both cooperation and the, you know, distribution aspect. And then on top of it all, we use WordTune, which is again an AI tool that allows you to repurpose and enhance, you know, the language of some of your content. So say if the writer is struggling with a piece of content, right, like maybe they're stuck and it doesn't sound very well, they can use WordTune to enhance the language, essentially.
Interesting.
So I think these are, most of the tools we use.
Awesome. I'm going to put down the links to all the tools that you mentioned in the description so people can check it out. But interesting tech stack there. Yeah. So just one last question before I let you go. What is your opinion on video content? Like, how do you approach videos? Since we're talking about content marketing, I just wanted to, you know, get your take on videos. What do you think of that?
Sure. I think videos are helpful. They don't actually, we ran an experiment this year where we added video content to underperforming blogs. So blogs that were kind of languishing around, you know, position 5, 6 in SERPs, no matter what we did with content quality, so the content score, what we did with link building to this piece of content. So we thought, okay, maybe adding interactive elements and media to content will actually improve its position in SERPs. It didn't do it significantly. So I would say if you want to produce video for SEO purposes, it doesn't seem to have that much impact based on our experience. but it does have a lot of impact on user experience, I believe. So, when you're explaining a complex issue, and, you can either explain in 2,000 words in writing or in like 3-5 minutes through a video, then like adding this interactive element will help your users process that information better. It also creates more of a rapport with the author of the content, because people can see you explaining things. Maybe you can tell a little anecdote, you can like utilize storytelling in a more personable way. So there definitely is a place for video content, but again, you need to juggle your priorities, right? If you're an early stage startup and your main channel is organic, you want to drive leads through inbound, then doing it through SEO is going to have more impact than trying to produce all the videos, because producing quality videos is quite expensive. It takes a lot of time, right? So yeah, maybe the direct impact on revenue would be lower than from producing written content for SEO, essentially.
I agree. All right. So yeah, I think I got what I wanted from the session, and that's the end of the conversation. I guess we've covered a unique topic today. I've not seen anyone talk about content ops or programmatic SEO. Have you seen anyone talk about this topic especially?
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that, have you seen anyone talk about programmatic SEO or content ops anywhere? Because I guess, we've covered a unique topic.
Yeah, so if I understand you correctly, like other people that have talked about programmatic SEO and content ops. Yes, so definitely Mark Williams-Cook talks a lot about programmatic SEO on LinkedIn. I think he has a lot of fantastic case studies there, and I was really inspired to explore this by his talk on Brighton SEO in April. So this is how I got familiar with this and like really wanted to learn more about this. And then for content ops, people from content distribution. This is our content agency. Nick Jordan, Gordana Sretnovich, Boyan, I forgot his last name. Yeah, but these three talk a lot about content ops. They do have sophisticated content ops in their strategy. I also consulted them when I was creating our content operations playbooks. So yeah, I do follow these people on LinkedIn and get a lot of value from their posts.
Amazing. I'm going to put on the links to their profiles in the description so people can, check them out. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of conversation. Thank you so much, Emilia, for spending your time with me today.
Thank you, Sanjana. I forgot to mention, probably, I also have my own Patreon on Content Ops. It's literally called Content Operations. And I published an ebook on content operations on Amazon a while ago. So we can also share that.
Definitely.
Yeah, basically documented our whole journey in there. So yeah.
For sure. It will be there in the description so people can check it out. And I'll also give your LinkedIn profile in the description so people can connect with you later. And if they want more information, they can talk to you directly. All right, Emilia, it was nice talking to you, and see you. Bye.